It's been a long road. I'm just kidding. Strange New World Season 1 is at an end, but that doesn't mean we can't party. The captain's going to be here, especially special guest Joe Townsel. Let me ask you this. If I go back in time and give myself a high five, will I be like respecting myself? Talk about that after the jump.
This episode of Commander's Log is brought to you by Geek Renaissance. Need that special gift for the nerd in your life? Love supporting small business? Look no further than Geek Renaissance. The artist Sephra makes all items by hand and will boldly go to the final frontier for your unique gift. Head over to geekrenaissance.company.site and use the code FLOBITO, that's FLOBITO, to get 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow, like, and share Geek Renaissance on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Commander's Log, presented by Geek Renaissance. Flobo Boys, the Chief Communications Officer of the USS Post Show. But it's not about me. It's about the Captain. Look alive, because Captain is on the bridge. What's up, sir?
Mr. Boyce, what a pleasure it is to be once again on the bridge with you, running things where everything always goes so smoothly and so artistically, charismatically wonderful.
I love it, man. I love it. You warm my heart. We even get started yet. So you believe it? 10 weeks is already over with. I remember doing the first episode in a hotel room in Florida, and we made it, Captain.
I am so unhappy that the first season of this Star Trek show is only 10 episodes. I love it. I am so desperate to see season 2.
Ooh, that's a hot take. But who has hot takes but our special guest this evening? You may know him as world-class author or common or uncommon or rare or special correspondent to the Trek Tonight show, which is part of the Starbase 80 kind of Twitter thingy affiliate, like the Wu-Tang Clan. Not really in the Wu-Tang Clan. It's like adjacent to the Wu-Tang Clan. Anyway, please welcome author Joe Townsel. What's going on, Joe?
Hello, guys. It's so great to be back on Commander's Log. It's been a while. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do it anyway. Although under the category of great minds thinking alike, Flobo, you stole my joke that I was going to do at the top of your show, but here it is anyway. Because we had a few false starts getting me on the Commander's Log because things going on with me in my life. I'm going to do it anyway. So here we are. We got it going, and it's been a long road. Getting from there to here.
So it's 4 p.m. on the West Coast. Apparently, we're already drunk. Going live on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn of all things, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Let you know your comments are definitely appreciated. We're going to talk about all that cool stuff about episode 10 of Quality of Mercy. But before we get to that, Joe Townsend, let me ask you a question. We're at the end of the road, season 1. How do you feel about Strange New Worlds?
You know what? John said part of it just now. I mean, I predicted this before it got started because I knew the format. I knew what they were going for. They have succeeded. And that is that.
Go ahead, Beck Hurwitz.
Yeah. Well, unlike the serialized versions, which can tend to drag and make us impatient, I'm reminded of an episode title from season 1 of TNG, and that is Too Short a Season.
Oh, wow.
And it is because I knew we were going to feel this way at the end. And we do, and that's great because it's been a great ride. I think the weakest one for me was still real strong. I mean, I didn't come out of there thinking, "Oh, that sucked."
Wait, what was that? Hot take? What was that? Elysian Kingdom.
That was the title. I'm going to mangle the title, but it was basically the storybook.
The Elysian Kingdom. Yeah, a lot of people don't like that episode. I actually liked it though, but for what it was. But you're right, it was super strong.
Yeah. And, while I'm on the topic, I was gonna bring this up when you guys went over Far Beyond the Stars. I'll just do it now. Why keep you in suspense? You probably heard it by now anyway from others.
Let's go, baby.
But in that episode, there was an Easter egg, which I don't think has been mentioned by any of us at least. And that is that the storybook was written, in fact, by Benny Russell.
And I'm a dunce. Who's that?
Well, I guess you don't know yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because that's relevant to your upcoming episode you're looking at Starbase 80 on Sunday. And I'll just say this much, I don't spoil it for you, Flobo, but it's it has an impact, meaning like what seemed to be a fictional character within the Star Trek universe seems to be a real guy after all. So,
well, I still want my Buck Bokai rookie card, so I'm putting that. Same question. We're at the end of the road there. Season 1. What do you feel about this season, Strange New Worlds? Did it hit the mark? Did it miss? Where did it land?
You know, I'm a guy who likes the restaurant more than the meal.
Oh wow, classy some bitch.
I mean, I like when you go to a restaurant. There's usually been someone who put together that menu. It's not just we just added things as we went. There's usually a sense of coordination and a sense of theme. And, everything in this restaurant uses all organic ingredients. Everything in this restaurant is locally sourced. We cook individually. We don't mass produce food. And one of the things that I love so much about Strange New Worlds is you got a lot of the ground broken with Discovery.
Right.
So you've got Kurtzman and all the people working with him, and they sort of have a sense of what they set their taste. They set their, sort of habits of how they do things. And I kind of feel like Strange New Worlds, I'm sorry, I'm using weak language. I definitely feel like Strange New Worlds is the culmination of everything that everyone in Star Trek is doing right now.
Bro, you don't have to apologize for bad grammar. I talk good English. I totally get you. It's totally great.
I think we're at a point where they really have figured out how to make the perfect Star Trek show, and this is it, Strange New Worlds.
Wow. I feel like you come around on some level, right? Because you were kind of like Liana didn't sing. It was kind of thing. I'm still pretty much on the fence, but maybe I'm just a hater and I'm a Discovery apologist. But I
think Discovery and Picard are going to have to step it up a little bit after this season of Strange New Worlds.
So let me ask you this, Joe Townsel. Okay, I bring on the show as a guest to totally berate you. I apologize, but
I love it.
but I think for someone who didn't have those memories, didn't have a reference to how it classically was, there were some episodes that were fun. There was good interactions, but storytelling was kind of wonky because it was episodic. Some storylines were pretty much abandoned, cut up at the knees for a couple of weeks. Is that necessarily things we got to give it a pass for because it has a lot of those nostalgia elements?
I don't think it's anything to give the pass for, but it is worthwhile acknowledging. But I will attribute it not to the episodic nature of the series, but again to the fact that the season is so short, it almost feels abbreviated at times. The opposite of what we experience sometimes in the serialized series.
Yeah, I agree.
Here, boom, boom, boom. Here we are. Okay, well, that was all great, but I wish, leave wanting more, right? But
yeah,
right, yeah. Pardon me. There's a joke going around online, and the first part of the joke was, look, I know a lot of people don't want to see a 29 episode season, but how else are you going to get? They land on a planet where it's all gangsters and it's shot on the Fox back lot, and how are you going to get those really ridiculous scenes? I've heard about Elysium Kingdom. Somebody said, hey, the costume guy said we can use all of these medieval costumes for free. Can you guys write an episode that goes with that?
Very TOS.
and very TOS, very much so. And as a fan, and as an old time fan, just like Joe is, I always loved that. I always loved that kind of ragtag. We threw a bunch of things together. It uses characters you love. It uses a setting, a basic sci-fi setting that you love. What do you think? And, there were times during The Next Generation or during Deep Space Nine where I'd be like, I don't want to watch this. I want to see my space battles. I want to see my exploring. I want to see all that. But now that I'm older, I don't know. Now that Trek is older too.
That's me, man.
Now I'm at the point where it's like, I like it all. The silly stuff where La'an is a princess, a little purse dog, and she's throwing little fits because she doesn't get her way. I love it. I love it all. And to what you were saying, Flobo, actually where this episode ends is a perfect example of they arrest Una for illegally being in Starfleet while being an enhanced, biogenetically enhanced being. And they put that story on the shelf like weeks ago.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a one and done.
Nowhere. So it's kind of interesting that they had to go, oh yeah, that was illegal, and she could get like jailed for that. So that's where we'll end.
Yeah, that's illegal. I mean, it's a good point. We'll try to touch upon that before we get out of here. But let's talk about the story itself. Your man Pike, that silver, sexy fox, has an opportunity to see a very young Mott al-Salah, and he kind of has a freak out moment because I too have panic attacks when I hang out with children. But it turns out the reason why is because he was from that time where those cadets were pretty much injured on the day of his disfigurement. So I thought it was going to be a retrospective, a reflective episode, but we got to see Anson Mount, and dare I say, one of the best uniforms I've seen ever. Star Trek 2 style, baby. Joe Townsel, walk me through this. Pike sees older, wiser, broken down Pike and puts him on a time adventure a la Bill and Ted.
Well, you know what? I mean, first of all, just a quick mention of the uniform. It was a nice reworking of the movie era uniform that grew obviously from this batch of current uniforms because, you might have noticed the shoulder patterns and stuff were the same. So nice attention to details what I'm getting at. As far as the story itself, listen, I mean, you know what? At no point I think, well, this is weird. This is coming out of left field. And the Klingon crystal, okay. I mean, I guess I want to be a Bajoran crystal, but that is where we are with that.
I still want a Bajoran Hesperot, bro. I understand.
But no, I mean, I thought that was handled so well. I mean, the little bit of makeup they used, I mean, it was just the attention detail was great. As far as older Pike coming to warn younger Pike, nothing ham-handed or phony about it. I thought that was a great element, framing element for this episode and this story, and a logical way for Pike to see, hey, you take the path not taken, may not be the path to go that way either, or maybe even worse. And we got there in one episode versus 10 of Picard, so.
Ooh, right. Picard is a mess and a half, but that's another show for another time. Learn more at Picard, part of the thingy.
We love it, but got to point it out. It's
I'll give you every show at once.
That's what sometimes you have a two-part, sometimes you have an arc, but you need.
Joe, what was that last thing you said? You froze for a little bit for us.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm just saying that's what the episodic advantage is that sometimes you might have a two-parter or an arc, but you get there in not a rushed, but just in a satisfying frame of amount of time.
Yeah.
So I thought again, answer Flobo's question, frazzled older Pike who caused a major war when they were wasn't one before. Oopsie. Handled real well, in my opinion. I have no complaints there.
I was really actually so pleased with that because it was very clever. Because what they did, and I wish I'd known this was coming up because it would have changed what we were watching on Starbase 80, Flobo.
I was going to ask about that.
I didn't see this coming at all. We basically see, because Christopher Pike has changed his future, we see how he would have handled the original series Star Trek episode Balance of Terror.
Yep.
Right.
And how that would have played out. And what an incredibly interesting approach to it, especially because they include James Kirk. That's
crazy. What? Let's go right into it. James Kirk, I don't know about you, but maybe I was expecting a little more. How can you look for someone to ever encapsulate full-on Billy Shatz? But this guy, I could get, because when I was younger, or by younger, I meant a year and a half ago, and I saw The Cage, and I saw The Menagerie, and I saw the TOS series, I thought that Kirk was fun and swashbuckling and Pike was a stiff. But now it seems that it flipped. That Pike is actually the cool, compassionate guy. Kirk is a cocksure swashbuckler to its own detriment. Thoughts about Kirk? John, let me know.
If you're going to look for any kind of fan pushback, here it is. Hashtag not my Kirk.
Oh snap! What's that? Is that meme? What's the meme go?
Don't mince
You did that so perfectly. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do my part.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this guy's great. Perfectly good looking guy, but there's no nice way of putting this. You should have done some push-ups, bro.
Whoa!
If you're gonna say you're Kirk, you better have a chest and some shoulders, man.
Wow!
You'd better look like something other than an actor. I blame the casting more than I blame the actor. I think the actor also internally was doing good work, but externally, I'm like, oh, this pretty boy over here, please.
Oh, okay. So, Joe Townsel, let me ask you this: are you going to drag this Kirk because the USS Farragut doesn't have a good gym program, or what?
You can do push-ups anywhere.
It's interesting that you ask about that. You bring the Farragut into your question, Flobo, because I agree with John for the most part. But I will say this: when we first saw Ethan Peck in Discovery, that was going to be a tough sell for me, and he did it. He won me over.
Well, he had a beard. I understand.
And you know what? In terms of the in-character reference, maybe just being on the Farragut instead of the Enterprise at that point in history, maybe that just kind of diluted Kirk a little bit. It is an alternate timeline after all.
Oh, okay.
We haven't seen the real Kirk yet.
I'm just going to kick in real quick. Maybe, but here's the thing. One of the things that Ethan Peck does so well is he said, I'm going to give you a variation of Leonard Nimoy.
Mm-hmm.
And Zachary Quinto did the same thing. And they, they try to do the body language very much the way Nimoy did. You can especially hear it in Ethan Peck, like during the mind meld, which I'm doing with the folks at home. When whenever he lowers his voice, he sounds so much like Nimoy. Oh my God, I love it. It makes me so happy. This guy, what I would have wanted and what I would have said had I been the director, like they ever would have let me direct, I would have said, go study that body language. You have to look like Kirk when he walks into a room. And Shatner knew how to own the room physically whenever he walked in. It wasn't simply swashbuckling. That is in there. But there's also this sense of like, I am the man. And yeah, okay, you can argue that maybe he's not there yet as a character, but show me something that looks like that extremely, I'm going to use the word cocksure.
No, it's a word that sounds dirty, but it's not. Like tidbits. Continue.
It's a family show after all.
Yeah, it's a family show.
Joe Townsel has tidbits, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to show them to you on this tidbits. He pulls them out now and again, and it makes the show 1,000 times better.
Well, thank you, sir.
It's true.
Let me adjust them right now. There we go.
I'm just going to tighten the bow on this and just say he could have done more work. This actor, let me tell you his name, and Paul Wesley. And I understand he's done TV work before, so he's not a newcomer. Come on, man. Where's the quality to your work? Come on.
It's one of those things where, as someone with no skin in the game, and I always go back to that because I can't say I'm a brand new fan anymore. We're working on 3.5 years as I've been in the Star Trek universe. That as someone who's watched TOS and watched this episode, I do recognize there is a disconnect. And it's kind of hard because this character is not supposed to be an alternate universe. It's supposed to lead into the TOS version of Kirk we love so much. But the one thing that I guess was like the lost in translation thing is it's not so much that Kirk works by shoot of the hip. That to me is universal. But I felt like the Kirk from TOS is someone that was still confide in other people in the ship and then go, no, we're doing this. This guy had ideas all on his own and was like, oh, we're doing this. How do you know? I don't know. I'm Kirk. And that to me was like, well, that's why I thought, and maybe because you were saying this too with the original Pike, that Pike tends to ask his crew and then makes a decision. And I thought the difference between Pike and Kirk was that what the result was. But I really felt that it was a bit different there. And I thought it was just me, but it seems that you guys feel the same way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, and definitely Chris Pine, channeled the Shatner mannerisms pretty much right away and it's done a much better job of it thus
Agreed.
far.
Yeah.
Oh snap! Chris Pine, shout out to Kelvin Universe, y'all.
Yeah, but whereas I personally prefer barely, but Ethan Peck over Zachary Quinto at this point for similar reasons that John.
Oh, Ethan Peck is the best. He's the best Spec. I love Spec. Spec is
yeah. I'm totally down with Spec. Spec is the man for me. Absolutely.
So let's talk about something that was a kind of a boogeyman. That's these Romulans, y'all. By the time we've got into this, or you guys got into it, we've seen Romulans before. They were part of plot point for a lot of these movies and TV shows, but in this universe, they're kind of not seen. Joe, let me start with you. Romulans, the way they're interpreted, the way there's some nuance in there was a little bit different, a little bit refreshing. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, and I'll answer your question by answering you one, Phoba. Have you seen Balance of Terror?
I don't think I have.
No.
Okay, so yeah, check that when you have a chance because that'll fill in some of these blanks for you, I think. But to answer your question, from my perspective, I think they did an excellent job recreating these because they're the same characters, obviously, as we saw in that old episode. Same sensibilities of the commander, the Romulan commander. Some nice twist on making the same things happen a little bit differently in this alternate timeline. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of concerned that they were going to blow it and show us Romulans too soon in the real timeline, and then violate that continuity.
They almost did in Enterprise.
Exactly. Yeah, they almost did there. And again,
can you let me know about that? Why is that an issue? Why is showing Romulans too early a bad thing? I'm just curious.
Well, because in the continuity, and we saw this, heard this in more detail in Balance of Terror. Even though they've been fighting a hot and a cold war over the course of a century, they never actually have seen Romulans. That's why we're so shocked when it turns out, oh my God, they look like Spock. What's up?
Huge deal. Huge deal.
Yeah, I always knew that. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because there was always a lot of racism that was unspoken around Spock in the original series. And a lot of it was spoken. You green-blooded hobgoblin. But just like Erica on the deck of the Enterprise, on the bridge of the Enterprise, is like, we got to get these Romulans. We got to get these Romulans. That happened in Balance of Terror 2 with another helmsman,
Lieutenant Stiles.
And that moment of, wait, looking at Spock, looking at the Romulans, looking at Spock, looking at the Romulans, that moment happened too.
Yes.
And so it's a big moment in the history of Star Trek that we realize that Vulcans and Romulans are actually the same basic people.
Right.
And we also do get a peek at what happens in the future, which is that Spock becomes the guy who reunites them. Reunification.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was in the what's it called, Part 3, the one that Discovery did, with the Spock tapes, right, where he tries to advocate for peace between the two halves. That basically was a framework for Navarre. Okay, maybe I'm just
right. No.
That was they called it Unification 3.
Yeah, yes, Unification 3. That's what it was. It was Discovery. It was a Discovery episode. Okay,
I know stuff. In TNG.
I know stuff.
That's right.
Yes. So about this Romulan thing, John, let me ask you this while I have you on the big screen, right? Mm-hmm. So it's I can't call it a big bad because we're episodic, but this one seems like it was going to be a bigger thing. Pike, in his quest to maintain, to save himself and others, inadvertently started a war with this Romulan class. Was that the right call? Do you think? Do you think that'd be the right people to use? I know we were talking about how it was cool to see that, but would you want to see other alien people there, or going back to the Romulan notebook or something adds a little more depth to this universe?
I think there are probably, and tell me, Joe, how you feel. I think there are old time fans like us who want to know what anything from the original series looks like through the Strange New Worlds lens. Yeah. So yeah, there was always a part of me that was like, come on, you got to bring some Romulans into this. Come on, man. Mm-hmm. And Romulans are such great characters throughout the movies and throughout Next Generation. And, because of the Romulans, they brought back Tasha Yar. Well, Denise Crosby anyway.
Hey now.
Yep.
And it really is a heartbeat within the, living, breathing body of Star Trek to have Romulans. So I was super happy. And also it was one of those like, well, this is an alternative reality, so we can show you the Romulans, even though no one's supposed to see them for, what is it at this point, Joe, like 9 or 10 years?
Well, no, in this alternate reality, that's simultaneous with what will happen with Kirk in Balance of Terror.
Oh, I see.
So the same events are unfolding, but with Pike in command instead of Kirk.
Right. And it was 7 years ahead, if I remember
7 years,
correctly.
yeah, 7 years from the present in Strange New Worlds.
Right.
Wow, look at that. Imagine if I was actually a true fan that watched everything ever. I would probably be more in tune to this. It's fine.
This is what's so exciting, though.
They didn't mention it in this episode, so just.
I mean, no, but what's exciting about this is you can enjoy it on different levels. And I know I'm going to rewatch this episode at some point, and I'm going to enjoy all kinds of things in it that I didn't catch the first time around. So, it's very Star Trek.
Yeah,
and it's interesting you mentioned the return of Tasha Yar in their alternate. That would be an alternate reality because the future was changed, not just a make believe. But yeah, the similarities to me, which are good similarities to yesterday's Enterprise, are top notch. And as a matter of fact, if I can just put this in just briefly, John, you made a comment at the top of the show about maybe you would have selected Balance of Terror for your last Starbase 80.
Yeah.
But you know what? City on the Edge of Forever, I think there's a parallel to that episode too in this one.
Oh, really?
Go on.
How do you see that, Mr. Townsel?
Let me put on my analytical cap here. No, it's
you
not.
Take it off?
Yeah, that's true. I never take it off. No, basically, I think you have alternate Pike playing the Edith Keeler role in this episode.
Oh.
He had the right idea. He wanted to do it diplomatically, but like Edith Keeler, it was not the thing to do at that point in history. And look at unfortunately the results.
Right. And just like that moment where it's like Edith Keeler must die, that's actually repeated in that episode. Mm-hmm. These kids, the two kids must die, and Pike must, as far as we know, where we are right now, Pike must go through that horrible accident that puts him in that wheelchair in the cage.
Because otherwise, in addition to everything else that comes years after that point that Future Pike describes, I mean, how would you feel if by saving yourself, you gave one of your closest, comrades the same affliction? There's poor Spock. He's going to end up in the beep beep chair, it looks like. Or something
I'll be
similar.
fine. I'll take a nice little
no
nap.
problem. Okay.
Yeah. Nurse Travel's having a bad day about that. But here's a comment from Stress Free Trey. They write, "Howdy, y'all. Memento Mori gave me more of the Balance of Terror suspense in this episode, even though they're matching blocking shots side by side."
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that.
That's a hot take. John, what's up with that, baby? Well, that's kind of cool from Stress Free K. But the question I have is stands. Having the alternate fate, I guess, with Spock being the one damaged, not being able to recover from this. Yeah. If you're Pike, I mean, there's got to be a bit of self-preservation there. Not saying screw Spock, but like, you're fine. You can go ride the horses back in the wilderness, right?
You always have to question what your role is. This is just a life thing. What is my role? And I was having a conversation with some friends from college, and we were talking about this one friend of ours who just seems to hate all of us now. And I was like, was it because of this? Did I say that? Did I say this? And my buddy was like, you have to understand, you don't see him the way he wants to be seen. He is so ready to live out the dreams that he had in his 20s. And almost everybody else in this group of friends, we're in our 50s now, and we gave up those dreams. But this guy gets really mad when you tell him that his dreams aren't going to come true. And he's not here right now, but I will tell you, his dreams are not going to come true. He's in his 50s. He thinks he's going to be a rock star. There's no way that's happening.
And how do you know this?
Because there's no future captain to come and tell him anything.
Right. No crime crystals.
And so you've got to figure out what is your role. When you're 20 years old, I think you have every right in the world to think you're going to be a superstar. But as you get older and you realize, no, other people have to succeed for things to get better. Sometimes you have to fail for things to get better. That's what we're dealing with Pike here. He knows he can't sneak out the back door. He can't tell the kids don't show up that day, which of course is the first thing I thought when, we went through this whole thing of him going, well, how am I going to prevent this accident? And the first thing is like, just have class outside that day.
Right.
Watch a movie. Hey, everybody, bring in the VCR. Let's watch,
that giant TV with a little VCR on it. What I call the holodeck episodes. Just wheel it in.
Well, it's probably in the back of Pike's mind. He says, "Okay, I gotta basically avoid the accident and not go back to the Enterprise once I do. So that'll create some other third disaster. So
keep shuffling the cards, man. Keep shuffling the cards, and maybe we'll get a hand that doesn't get you killed."
Totally a personal question because you're a genius. Joe Townsel, let me ask you this. You had the idea of what Kirk was and what Pike was. And we had a whole season to develop the kind of commanding style Pike was. Dealing with the Romulans in this episode, we're trying to find that 2-hour ceasefire and what Kirk decides to do with having the Armada. Was that faithful to both captains, or was that a little bit of a dramatic liberty? What would you do in that situation?
Well, based solely on season 1 of Strange New Worlds, which is all we've got really, except for the cage, I didn't see anything out of character or unrealistic there. I think it's kind of like, Pike's method at that moment was to try the diplomacy. Didn't work. Boom. If it had, it would have been a lot better, obviously. And Kirk is always a man of action, always has been, especially in the old days. Yeah. So I thought that was a great plot point, bringing in the drones to give the Romulans cannon fodder, and it almost worked.
Let me pull another reference, Flobo, that you will recognize from Discovery. Hopefully. And that is Kobayashi Maru.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kirk beat that, didn't he?
He did. And so I feel like what this Kirk is more of that Kirk. He's more they keep telling us, he does things his own way. He doesn't think like everybody else, which is interesting how different that is from crowdsourcing opinions and expertise the way Pike does.
On the other hand, diplomacy.
Cowboy diplomacy. There you
That's
go.
awful.
and so that is the Kirk they're using, and that's great.
Let me challenge you on that. If he's a man of action and you like action, why does that make you go meh?
The Kirk that I know is a confrontational Kirk. Now, granted, he's given no room to be confrontational at all because Captain Pike is the guy running this operation. And Captain Pike is the guy saying, look, do you want more war or do you want to have less war? I can de-escalate. What can you do besides escalate? And so this is what Kirk does. He goes, you know what? I bet if we have a show of force with all of these mining ships that look enough like they could be battleships, maybe we've got something going here against this overwhelming. And I got to admit, my stomach dropped when I saw all those Romulan ships show up. That was scary. Right. That was a Kobayashi Maru.
That's straight up Tex Avery, like that go kind of a thing. Awooga. Joe Townsel, man, same question. We had a bit of a conflicting philosophies between these two men, and we're learning more about what Pike was, because again, my first instance of Pike for me was the Kelvin universe, and Bruce Greenwood, all due respect, was kind of a pushover. He was a lame-o. So seeing Anson Mount approach it as Pike, seeing Kirk doing it with the mind drones, two different philosophies working in tandem to a common goal. Obviously, it didn't really work out for them. But the question I have for you was did any of those beats work for you or did not work for you?
No, honestly, I mean, I'm just going to go on record right now saying I really have only one negative for this episode, which I'll mention later. And that's
do it now. Tell me the negatives.
Seriously. Oh, the dopey song at the end.
What? You hate songs?
I don't hate songs, but come on, I don't want to. We got Faith of the Heart. That's enough. You don't need to
Yeah,
anything
usually
else.
when I say faith in the heart, they always say enough. Yeah, I get that. Bravo, enough.
No, but I
What
mean,
is
as far as this the plot point, I think it was handled very well. Again, there's so much potential there to stumble and to make it hackneyed and just ridiculous. But I think the meshing of the two styles worked really well. I mean, even back in the cage, we had a bunch of brash young ensigns telling Pike, Captain, let's do this. No, let's do this. Let's kick their ass. And he said, okay, chill.
Chill out, bro.
Chill out. We're going to handle it this way. And it ultimately worked out. So I don't fault Pike at all in the alternate reality as far as the way it went. Again, Edith Keeler style, it was just the wrong thing to try in this situation. But as far as Kirk and Pike working well together, especially preceding it by not a heavy-handed, but the fact that he had a kind of a skepticism about Kirk from the beginning.
How'd you feel about the Praetor sacrificing one of their own that wasn't working in compliance? Was that totally on brand for you as well?
It was, and I'll tell you why, because basically what we've got is an alternate reality equivalent of what happened in Balance of Terror, where the same commander chose to, in imminent defeat, chose to self-destruct his ship.
Oh, I should probably research that. I'm a really bad journalist, John. Let me.
I wish I'd known. If I had known this episode was going to mirror Balance of Terror, we would have watched it. It is a classic. It is a must-see episode.
You know what, John? Do it. Suggestion. Do it after the fact. Do it Sunday and push back Far Beyond the Stars.
We could.
Yeah.
That would throw off my schedule.
For those of you who don't know, those who listen to Cameron as well, thank you so much on the audio version. This is actually the sister show to Starbase 80, where we kind of flip the roles where John subjects me to things, including holodeck episodes and Tashiar episodes, as we get through the best things about Star Trek. That's available every Sunday at Weber Internet Thingy. Not sure if John's going to do it. I haven't done this week's homework, so now will be the time if you were to change that idea. But let me know if that's the case.
You have not done this week's homework?
I was out of town this couple of days, so I just got back in here today. So
we're gonna watch Balance of Terror for this coming Sunday. We will move Far Beyond the Stars, which is an amazing episode, but it'll always be amazing.
You took my suggestion.
Of
course. At that. Joe Townsel, proof the system works. I have no idea what we're gonna watch. I don't know what I'm like.
Genius. We just eat crumbs off his table. Townsel's really the gold standard.
I make so many predictions and analyses that kind of fall flat, which is typical in fandom. It's always nice to have one that lands. So thank you guys.
All right, there, genius. Riddle me this. Your thoughts. This season, one of my many gripes, small gripes, on Strange New World is kind of like the use or misuse of Una Chin Riley. But it turns out she had the last scene being imprisoned for just being herself, bro. Thoughts about that?
Well, initial thoughts when I first saw it were, and I always tend to go back to other episodes for comparison. We had in the Enterprise, we had the season-long Xindi arc, and when that's resolved in the last episode, we tacked on this cliffhanger, which was like, okay, and this was an improvement over that, only in the sense that it wasn't a cliffhanger, it was a tease.
Yeah.
And, so we're not sitting there, oh my God, what happens next? Mr. Worf fired. It's none of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued to learn more about what happens. Obviously, she's going to come out of it.
Will she?
Yes. I mean, yeah. It's there is a tension to Una, the number one, to Una, the first officer. There is a constant tension of, and I guess Flobo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of your biggest problems is, what does she do?
Yes. What does she do?
What is she there
when I'm offended?
And really, I don't think it's unusual in the military to have redundant officers, because you do need to have, like, the captain goes to sleep sometimes. So who's the captain then? It's usually number one. And we've had this conversation, Joe, you and I, lots of times with the other fellas, which is somebody's got to make the work schedules and somebody's got to figure out who gets, who's covering who for vacations. And, this is not a lot of paperwork that gets dumped on a captain. A captain's an executive. He's got other people to do this stuff for him. So just like Riker was doing it for Captain Picard,
Right.
Una does it for Pike.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, we did bring that up before in conversation, and Roddenberry, when creating the TNG characters, attempted to address some fan quibbles that, why are you always sending the captain down in dangerous situations? But how long did that last with Picard? Like a season?
Yeah.
Because that's in reality, that's your series star. That's who's driving the events of the story more than anybody else, usually.
Right.
And so I'm just happy to note that off camera, Una's doing her paperwork. She's doing her drudgery. I think it might be more effective if they just had her at the helm like they had in the cage. But then she'd have a role.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that at all. I mean, she could be on the ship, but on the bridge. But I do think they're trying to tell us it's a big ship. There's a 24/7, 365 every 4 years, 366 kind of a deal. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But now that we've got this controversy, maybe that'll jumpstart this whole thing. And Flobo, maybe you'll end season 2 actually really liking that Una is there.
Guy gave me a Tashiar relative. Stress-Free K says, it's kind of bizarre that Lower Decks finale ends with their captain, Captain Freeman, being arrested. And now Strange New Worlds puts Una in leg irons as the season ends. Well, you know what?
That's funny.
Pike is sorry. Pike is sorry, and so being able to watch his girlfriend arrest his number one. That's kind of awkward, right?
That whole girlfriend thing was so awkward. Like, really?
Yeah.
They had to bring his booty call in to do it, really?
Oh, what? Oh my goodness, John.
That's a booty call.
You, my friend, are a spicy captain.
That's a two-way booty call. That's a booty call for both of them. Come on, man. They're not.
Am I the only one that doesn't really care for this actress who plays his girlfriend?
Apparently, what?
No,
what is wrong with you? Pike needs some loving, y'all, and she's really sorry.
No, I want to see like a Janice Rand type in that role. Come on.
Yeah, get me a Janice Rand. You know what? There should be a cult. There should be a cult.
You guys are terrible. I mean, who am I to get in the way of love? You know what I do love? It sounds like it's the voice of Scotty. John, is Scotty in the engineering room?
It's so funny. I never do this. I did some Googling while I was watching. I
gotta use
never
Bing, bro. Bing is superior, but continue.
You know what? Maybe I should have used it because I didn't find anything that helped at all. Everything that I found was like, no. Come on,
no.
Is Scotty joining the show? No.
Can't tell you.
Damn it.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, and there might be a wink to it. All I'm getting is this it's like do you remember the Gilly sketch from Saturday Night Live? Gilly. Sorry.
That's
like, they're introducing Scotty and he never comes on camera and he never identifies himself. Sorry. Just a tease. That's all it was.
What about you, Joe? Thoughts about that?
Well, again, we are in an alternate timeline here, but I can tell you that on the original series that Scotty was in place in his role, or at least a lesser role in engineering, either shortly before or shortly after Kirk came on and took command. So it would certainly make sense that 7 years in any future of where we are on Strange New Worlds now, Scotty's going to be there. Now, whether he comes on the present time immediately is in question. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's sort of a Schrodinger's cat, when we join Captain Kirk on the ship, who has preceded him? Who, he was the new guy for some people. Right. Clearly Spock is one of them because Spock has all this history with Pike on the Enterprise. So yeah, Montgomery Scott should be somewhere in the 7 years. And isn't that interesting too? Classically, a Star Trek series lasts 7 years.
How about the Enterprise?
Except for Enterprise.
Stress-Free K says, you would think that Captain Batel, or Commander Batel, at least I think in this one, she would give Pike a heads up that she's on her way to arrest her first officer as a professional courtesy, at least. It was kind of like, surprise, with a trucker, we're taking one of your first officers. Not the way you do business, right, Joe?
Right, exactly. And it does raise the question in the alternate timeline that 7 years in from the present day, why hasn't Pike been able to get her out of prison? He seems a lot more determined at the end of the episode when he's back to his regular time frame to do it. So maybe the effects of experiencing that alternate reality kind of, lit a fire under his butt for a couple of different things, and that being one of them.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Forewarned is forearmed. There is a little more. I got that from Thor comics, by the way.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I read that when I was like 12 years old, and I was like, that is going to be one of those things I'll always remember. Forewarned is forearmed. I believe the ice giants say it to each other. Anyway, yeah, that would make sense to me, that because he knows she could end up in the clink for at least 7 years. Like, this is much more important than let's just let Starfleet figure it out. Like, no, that's not an option. She'll die in prison if that's what they choose to do. So I like that. It's a ticking time bomb, something important for season 2.
Exactly. My feelings exactly.
Favorite line of the week for me, it comes from Spock when he goes, savage, even by human standards. It's always fun how Spock is so casually racist. Joe, as we wind this down, this is really your news and notes. I mean, you watch all these episodes of pretty much anything Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, had their first entry in their first volume. Anything else that popped out to you this week that you wanted to share?
Well, in addition to your quote of the week, I do want to, in addition to John's comments about Ethan Peck's performance as Spock, look for the same shot in Balance of Terror when the Romulans are first revealed. And I don't know if I can do it myself, but there's Spock raising that one eyebrow in both episodes.
That eyebrow was, oh my God, that eyebrow to me was like fireworks went off. That was such a great eyebrow raise.
Man, I got a feeling I want to watch it and be like, boring. I don't get it. But that's just that's because I'm a young boy. It doesn't know anything.
You know what it is? Honestly, though, whenever we go back and watch TOS episodes, it's the quality of Nimoy's work is spectacular. He was just so good. I mean, I'll always say, oh, no, Shatner was good. But, I mean, Shatner could be really silly. He could do some really, like, funny, goofy ass, like, what? Like some real comedy stuff. The way that Nimoy sort of vacillated from here to there was a little tighter, a little more disciplined, which makes sense because Spock is a disciplined being. But there's also a lot of sort of deep down emotion that just can't help but come out. And though Nimoy was good with that, Ethan Peck is amazing with that. Yeah. And there's always like a nice moment especially in the more recent episodes where something comes through, and what a great actor to be able to do that.
I have a few more on my notes that are brief, just to wrap it up from my end, but I thought it was really cool. And again, in the alternate reality where the married couple, the bride dies this time and not the groom, because that's what happened in Balance of Terror, Flobo. I'm just going to tell you everything about that episode. So
spoilers.
I love the original series music appearing at the Romulan reveal, although it almost went over the top.
Yes.
Suddenly it's just there.
Yes.
Whoa.
I was like, wait, that's the original music. Wow, they're really hammering it.
And I got to tell you, even though, John, you did mention this, or maybe it was Flobo, but I have to comment on Chapel's heartbreak, when she sees what's going to happen to Spock. And did you guys notice that she was wearing a little bit closer to the uniform we're used to seeing her, and she had a blue coverall, not a white one.
True, she did.
Oh, does that mean she's part of Starfleet at this point? Because
I would assume so.
Oh wow! So
again, we're in the alternate future,
right?
So all bets are off. But yeah, so just again, I love the attention to detail. Nothing smacked as far as being fake or contrived. Mm-hmm. I think we're really into this season on a high note, to say the least.
The one Easter egg I'll pull is when we see Uhura in the alternative timeline uniform. It's got that plunging neckline over to the side,
right?
Which comes up now and again in Star Trek, most famously on Counselor Troy in Next Generation.
Oh yeah, let me start about that. I feel like someone was like, "How could we get our uniform tighter?" I'm like, "Bro, you can't breathe." You ever have some kind of like,
and then ultimately, Troy looked best in a standard Starfleet uniform. Go figure.
Yeah, it's like, man, there's some airflow in there. Captain, we're at the end of our journey this week, but before we get out of here, I got 2 questions for you. One, it's kind of a softball question. What do you want to see next season? But 2, and more importantly, are fates inescapable? So maybe one can relate to the other.
What I want to see next season, I do want to see a lot more Una. So I hope that's what this little sort of cliffhanger of her being arrested and hauled off in chains. I really want to see Una kind of come into her own. I've really learned to appreciate everything about the character. And yeah, as far as I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Are fates inescapable? Is Pike gonna be in the box?
Oh, no wonder my brain didn't want to remember that. I believe that the sort of timeline, chronology, time travel rules and all of that we're going by right now in Strange New Worlds is tied to you can't change a fate. A fate is a fate until it's not. That's where I think they're taking us. I honestly believe that Pike will be able to beat this, that Pike is not doomed to be in that chair, in the beep beep chair, I believe you called it, Mr. Townsel. But I don't know. Joe, what do you think? I'll throw it at you.
Well, I agree with you. Now, I'll put it this way. I do respect the writers of, for this episode of not resolving the issue too quickly or at all, but actually digging the hole deeper.
Yeah.
And so if they somehow manage to save Pike, they better get out of that hole effectively, dramatically, satisfyingly. And if they can't do that, then they got to leave it as it is, because otherwise it's just going to be a cheat.
Yeah.
But I have faith at the heart that they can do that.
Of the heart.
You're going to get a copyright claim.
No,
it's going to happen.
If someone can decipher my terrible singing voice as the actual song, I'll actually be proud of it. I'm like, yeah, I nailed it.
Holy cow. 72 countries can't hear it because I sing so well.
That's
all. If I can answer your question about what I want to see more, you want to see in season 2, 2 simple words. Remember Chuck Woolery, 2 and 2?
Yeah, more Pike. I mean, more Spock. I mean, what?
More episodes.
Oh,
damn it!
Damn it! Now you know Joe's worked up.
I've never heard Joe.
It's probably a pipe dream, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we saw a bump up next time to maybe 13 to 15.
I mean, that'd be cool. Either that or just bring it back sooner.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't know at what point. I mean, supposedly, I think you might know this a little bit better, Joe. Supposedly, season 2 is already in the can. It's in the process of post-production right now.
Mm-hmm.
But do we have any idea? I think it's coming back next year, but is it coming back early 2023? Have you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm only putting things together as you read them myself, but
yeah.
I'm going to also speak to the Paramount Plus method. They want to do Trek series back to back to back to keep you subscribing all year long. So I don't see it running concurrently, but I don't know when the animated shows are ending either. I think they're kind of coming up.
I mean, now,
maybe we'll see an end of the year or maybe beginning of the year for season 2 here. I
would assume if I'm Paramount Plus, we'll have Lower Decks now, Prodigy after that in the fall, then going into Discovery in the winter time, like November, December, and then maybe Picard season 2. Basically a retread. So basically this time next year, I would say.
Yeah, they'll probably be a year apart, unfortunately, but maybe they'll give us more. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing that in what I look at. The director of this episode, Chris Fisher, has he said on was it on Instagram? He said, "See you in a year," basically. Yeah. So people are thinking, well, that might mean the first half of 2023, but it might literally mean the second half of 2023.
Where am I straddled like this here? But well, I gotta say, we're at the end of our road. So thank you so much for tuning in to Commander's Log as we went through 10 episodes of Strange New World. That means it's a bit of a hiatus for us. We might do a special here and there for Lower Deck or something like that. But as far as the weekly content, we're taking a bit of a break. I know it sucks, but that doesn't mean you can't be deprived of Flobito and John. We have the Starbase 80 program and more stuff coming down the pipe. Before we wrap this all up, got to give a shout out to Joe Townsel, the man himself, making sure he came on the Shuttlecraft on the show this week. Joe, let me ask you a question. If I want to connect with you and give you all the monies for all the books, how do I go about doing that?
Well, you got one good method staring you in the face right now beneath my, the plug beneath my mug, as I'll put it. JoeTownsel.com is always a great way to do it. That's where you can find links to everything. My books for sale, my web appearances I do with you guys, which I enjoy so much. Amazon.com. And I will plug this. I mentioned to Flobo before we started. Don't forget, among the books that I'm talking about, books that Flobo's talking about, Anticipation, among others, on sale. We're both in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there was a time where we thought we were both authors, but Joe is and I'm not. And the Anticipation was a collaboration project with some friends. So make sure you pick up a copy, available now on Amazon.
And I'm gonna go on here saying, Flobo, real quick, that I haven't mentioned this to you yet, but I am writing a new one based on my recent experiences in health, and a big inspiration of my approach to that is graduation day. So thank you.
Oh wow! Because I was going to retire for that. Great.
You'd better not. You'd better keep writing. Oh my God, you're a great writer.
Sidebar, it was called Graduation. I thought it would be my last book ever, but it turns out it's my most popular book ever. So now I'm all torn.
Post-grad, come on.
Graduation day.
You've done that. You can write that. You've done that.
I have. It's true. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, Captain. Top that. No, I'm just kidding.
I can top that because I'm going to remind people about the Flobo Boys Patreon. You got to become part of the boisterous crew. Come join me. Come join all the other boisterous crew. We love following Flobito. You got to do it too.
Well, I got me tearing up and blushing, which is kind of considering my skin color. But Starbase 80 is this Sunday at 11 a.m. Our sister show over at the Wibber Internet Thingy. Make sure you check around for that. I guess I got
Balance of Terror this week.
Balance of Terror. It's now official. We got to do that. Got to keep them the homework. But Joe, since you're our guest, you got to do the honors as we get out of here. Say those magic words.
Everyone in webcast land, live long and prosper.